Have you ever picked up a tarot deck and felt like you were no longer quite here, as if you were peering through a crack in the universe, glimpsing something just beyond the veil? In today's video, I'm sharing tarot decks from my collection that feel like portals to other dimensions. These are decks that shift my perception, that invite me into strange, beautiful, and sometimes haunting realms. So settle in, light a candle if you wish, and join me as we go peeping through dimensions. Hello ducks, it's Simon here. Welcome back to the Hermit's Cave. Hope everybody's enjoying the start of an extended long weekend. Well, I say that for people in the UK. I don't know what it's like in other places, but it's our Easter. Not that I recognise or celebrate Easter, but today is Good Friday and we have a long weekend. And my this is 3 or 4 kind of premieres I've been doing this week while I've got some time off, because I've got some time to sit and enjoy my decks and play around with them. It's very rare that happens. So I've really been enjoying making some videos, just looking at some older or different decks and talking about them. So today, as you'll have heard just from that introduction, it's Peeping Through Dimensions, so decks that blur the lines between worlds. And when I talk about between worlds, I'm not just talking about, you know, cosmic realms. For me, dimensions can be in the past, they can be in the future, they can be of other worlds, spirit worlds, but sometimes I suppose it's a question really. I mean, have you ever picked up a deck, started to use it, and it's made you feel like you were slipping between worlds? Because I have, and there's certain decks, and when I go through them, you might think, well, I've never had that experience with that deck, and that's great, but that's the tarot, isn't it? We all have different kind of reactions to certain decks. But if I kind of explain what other dimensions feel like for me. So decks that are quite surreal, liminal, or even like dreamlike, as well as cosmic, but also of a different era, a different time. And even if it is a different time, was it in our past, or does it feel like another worldly back in time? So a classic example of that, and it's not included here, but like steampunk, for example, it's an imagined history, or a different place or altered reality. That's what I mean by other dimensions. So of course the deck that started it all off was the other night, and when I was in the premiere, I giggled to myself because I was talking about Shimmering, and I won't spend too long showing this because I've talked about it a lot in the last week, but this is the deck that made me feel about it. And when I was doing the premiere, I heard myself say, it makes me feel like I'm peeping through dimensions, and was having a bit of a giggle in the chat during the premiere, because this deck, and there's an oracle by Scylla later, which I think is a beautiful kind of companion to this deck. This one really does give you the sense of stepping between realities. It's pure surrealism. It's like catching a glimpse of another world through the corner of your eye. Every card here just hums with liminal energy, as if the veil between the dimensions is is, what's the word I'm looking for? Like threadbare, and the light seeps through in waves of beautiful colour and spirit. It's very ethereal. It's richly painted. It pulses with intuitive energy and it has lots of depth, lots of mystic depth. And you do get this kind of swirling, as you can see here, otherworldly. We've got both Queen of Fire here. I forgot where I was now. Otherworldly, yeah, it also has a traditional structure to it. It's beautiful for creating a meditative, liminal space in which the cards seem to move and breathe. It's just beautiful. It offers a visionary landscape. And as I said last week, it really does feel like this is channeled information from a collective consciousness. And I'm not sure if that's intentional. Scylla has spoken about this deck to me because I said it really feels channeled. But obviously as an artist, you are a conduit, aren't you? And I have described this, you know, as like having a sense of communion with the deck. And it just seems to, I don't know, the images seem to bypass the mind, the analytical mind, if you like, and speaks directly to the soul. So for me, it's a go-to for spiritual insight and that sort of emotionally resonant guidance that we often seek. Just beautiful. So that's the deck that started it off for me. Okay, so the next deck is Tarot of the Abyss by Anatorium. Oh gosh, I love this deck so much. I agonise between whether this is my favourite Anatorium deck or Tarot of Echoes, because they're just both incredible. But this deck isn't flashy or filled with vibrant colours, but that's precisely why it feels like a passageway into another dimension for me. This deck, for me, is a journey inward. It really is. We've got this beautiful monochromatic art, which feels like it's suspended in time. Like you've entered a space between waking and dreaming. It just gives me that, yeah, that in-between state of the conscious and the subconscious. What I love is how the figures in this deck seem to see you as well. I say that as soon as I come to a blank face. But a lot of the figures in this deck, their soul is within their eyes. I mean, look at that connection there. A lot of them have their eyes closed as well, which gives you that sense of needing to go within. But I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. Just gorgeous. And you know what? This deck, it really doesn't scream for attention. It gently draws you in over time, I found as well. I mean, I loved it when I first got it. I took it away with me to Glastonbury. I was talking about it non-stop. But the more you work with it and the more it draws you into these beautiful shadows, into quiet truths, emotional depths. It's not about necessarily a fantasy world. It's about the unseen within. And again, the eyes that are open really connect with your soul. They seem to see you, but there's so many in here as well where their eyes are closed, because it's about the unseen within. I mean, look at this. You are that third person. Look how they're looking at you. So when I read with this deck, it's like I've stepped into a still, echoing chamber where even silence speaks volumes. So for me, this is a dimension not of space, but of the soul. Just gorgeous. So, Tarot of the Abyss by Anatorian. Okay, so next up, I mean, it had to appear, didn't it? But Tarot of the Hidden Realm. This is by Julia Jeffrey and Barbara Moore. Barbara Moore does the book. Now, I was fortunate with this deck because somebody gifted me an original copy where it's lovely thick cardstock rather than the flimsy cardstock that came with later editions. But I was able to keep the new book and the new sturdy box from a later edition. So it's kind of like a mishmash. But Tarot of the Hidden Realm, a deck that for me doesn't just suggest another world. It is another world, and it invites me into it. The deck is steeped in Fey energy and obviously liminal magic. The figures are really lifelike, yet they carry that wild, ancient energy that makes you feel like you're being watched. It's just really gorgeous. So many cards in this deck are really powerful. And again, it's one of those where if you get, I can't, like here, I love this Eight of Wands. But if you get a card where you can really look into their eyes, you see the depth. It's not just a face that's staring back at you from the other side. Again, it really makes that connection. I don't know how many other people watching this find that with decks as well. When you get a face on image, sometimes some of them really peer into your soul. Look at that. So I can't talk about other dimensions and other realms without Tarot of the Hidden Realm. I haven't used this for such a long time. Ah, beautiful. So next on the list is Tarot of a Moon Garden by Karen Marie Sweetheart. I could never say her name. Now, this is the new version. I do have the original. I got this one out and decided to show you this one for this video because it's in order. I do like this, but I don't know, I just feel that, I mean, they're nice, but some of the images now feel quite cropped in these long kind of bookmark type. But they've taken the borders off, and we've got linen cardstock. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the cardstock. I just wanted to explain why I'm showing the newer version. Tarot of the Moon Garden for me feels like a lucid dream. It has these beautiful glowing colours. It's full of mythical creatures. And it just feels like everything here perfectly belongs in a soft moonlit dreamscape. So the dimension for me here is really we're being taken into a dream world. A lot of the cards I just want to come back to. I'll read with it, look at it, and then I'll go away and I think, I want to go back to that card. It just invites you to go deeper with it. A lot of the cards remind me of walking through a dream that you don't want to wake up from, because it's not an unpleasant landscape. It's really quite beautiful, actually. So for me, with its luminous dreamlike imagery, this deck really feels like going through a nocturnal fantasy landscape. There's a beautiful interplay of light and shadow. You can see that we've got lots of darker cards here. We had lots of lighter cards. Yeah, it's just stepping into that parallel dimension. And I think I said when I did the kind of comparison video between this deck and the old one, it was the deck's enchanting quality and its ability to evoke a sense of awe and wonder of this world that really stood out for me. So Tarot of a Moon Garden is number 4. Probably I'm going to have to speed this up a bit because I think I've got about 15 decks. If I do 2 minutes on each deck, then that's 45 minutes gone. So I will try and go a little bit faster. Can't even find the lid now for this one. Ah, there it is. Okay, Tarot of a Moon Garden at number 4. So next in number 5 is the Pensive Tarot by Reese Maron. Now Reese sent me this and she signed it back in 2022, 3 years ago. And this is one I've just sat and put in order. Some I have, some I haven't. To be honest, when you've got 15 decks, you've got to put them in order. Yeah, it's a thing. So, but some I really wanted to. So, Pensive Tarot. This deck pulls you into quiet spaces of the soul. It really does. It is absolutely stunning. It's introspective. It is surreal. And in some cards, almost meditative. And the lovely thing about this deck is it doesn't shout. It whispers. And in those whispers, your worlds, your views, your peeping into the dimensions just really expand and open up. Look at that for a death card. I mean, so the art style is, from what I understand, pre-existing art style, but it's got a lot, it's curated really well. It's got symbolism, both literal and abstract, but it gives me that suspended in time feeling to it. A lot of the cups are like poetry, visual poetry, but they don't just tell a story, they invite you to feel it, and feel it across timelines, across realities, but also through memory and emotions. So I've reached for this deck in the past when I'm wanting to do some inner work. I think it would be great for dream journaling, people who do dream journaling. And yeah, it doesn't just speak to me about what's happening now. It speaks to me about who I am, who I'm becoming, as well as that space in between, really. So for me, it's a great deck for introspection, through these landscapes. And for me, it's about why I've chose this for this kind of this video is it's akin to traversing alternative dimensions of thoughts and emotions. And I think, again, when I did a walkthrough, I talked about how it has this beautiful I can never say that word, contemplative nature, and its capacity to delve deep into the subconscious. It's just, I think it's incredible. I mean, look, incredible deck. So that's the Pensive Tarot by Reese Maron. What number are we up to now? I'm gonna have supper tea. I've been talking that long, it's been going cold. Next one, number 7, might surprise you. It's Tarot of Hearts by Isabel Hayes. So this one feels like, I mean, look how chunky that book is. A huge book. Whenever I've used this, that little extra card there, beautiful linen cardstock as well, gorgeous, brushed gold, matte edges, beautiful. But the reason why I put this one in is I was using it quite recently, probably about a month ago. And it gives me that sense of flipping through an old journal, like a dream journal or something like that. It's very expressive. It's incredibly surreal. It's full of raw emotion. Every card feels like a deeply personal memory. That isn't quite mine, but stirs something in me all the same. So again, when I talk about memories, that it evokes memories, but you don't feel like they're your memories. That's that whole sort of collective consciousness, isn't it? But I resonate with a lot of these cards. And when I first did a walkthrough, I didn't know if I would. I wasn't sure if the artwork was speaking to me. But whenever I'm wanting to work with a deck, particularly ones that carry this sort of quiet, open-hearted vibe, it feels like this deck is somebody you can trust. You know, we talked about this the other day about how we personify decks and we use certain decks for certain emotional states that we're in. And this deck feels especially right when I'm exploring emotions, because there is kind of an emotional landscape here. It has that heart healing. A lot of it lends itself really well to inner child work, or just letting yourself feel, really. Again, even though it's vibrant colours, it doesn't speak too loudly. It's very subtle. And it allows you time. So a lot of the art is abstract. It's very symbolic, but it does open doors to interpretive realms beyond the physical realm, and it invites us to explore metaphysical. I'll get my teeth in soon. Metaphysical concepts and emotions. I do think it has a unique approach to symbolism in particular, but it also has that ability to challenge conventional perceptions as well. I don't know how many people have worked with this deck. I don't see it getting talked about or used much, but I really like it much more than I thought I would. So, Tarot of Hearts by Isabel Hayes. Okay, so next we have Tarot of the Longest Dream by Roberto Innocenti. Now you can get two versions of this. You can get the tuck box version, but it has, just as a warning, not very great cardstock. Or you can get this set with a nice book, box, and thicker cardstock. And this deck really drifts between realities with strange sort of, I don't know, almost cinematic beauty. The art feels very, very layered. It's not a collage deck, but almost like collages pulled from forgotten dreams, and they're stitched together with symbolism and just beautiful scenic landscapes. They do draw you in. I guess what I like about this, I mean, it's called Tarot of the Longest Dream, so I think it is supposed to... I love this Strength card. Strength card is our card for the week. Let's just appreciate it for one more day. Yeah, it doesn't follow the rules of a dream deck. It just seems to have this kind of landscape. Again, it gives you a look how they're dressed, a bygone era. It reminds me of lots of children's books that I had when I was little. But this deck is great for deep dives, and when you're perhaps wanting to unravel your thoughts or your dreams, but it really dissolves the map and leaves you drifting and trusting that you'll resurface again. Beautiful. So yeah, I just find with the whole tone and vibe of this that it does immerse you into a surreal dreamlike landscape, and yeah, it blurs with reality. It has this beautiful kind of ethereal artwork as well. Alternative dimensions, that's probably the best way to describe this deck. Lots of people have left comments on this video. Lots of people have bought this deck, so I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts as well, whether you feel that, you know, whether it does transport you into a contemplate. I don't know why I have such a hang up on that word. The more I try and say it, the more I want to say it wrong. This goes back to, if anybody ever watches an old video that I did when I first did a walkthrough of Everyday Enchantment by Poppy Palin. We must be going back 5 or 6 years, maybe longer, and I could not, there's an outtake section at the back, and there must have been about 10 attempts to say contemplative. I wanted to say things like contemplative and all different, and it's just one of those words that I want to use because that's how I am, and I can say it in my mind, but when I try and articulate it, I really struggle. Does anybody else have one word that's their word for them? Contemplative, contemplative, to contemplate, contemplate. Oh my gosh. Anyway, introspection is great. If that's what you want to do, use this deck. So that's Tarot of the Longest Dream. Sorry, I just had to take a break there because I had a call. But we will we'll carry on. We're up to deck number 8. And this is a beautiful deck and really, really special. This is Quen, Forget Tarot de Gap. And that's what Quen means in Vietnamese. Beautiful deck. I bought this last year when I was in London. I went to Watkins, and it was one that I kept going back to on the shelf time and time again. And Sandra was like, look, if it speaks to you, just get it. And because it's the Forget Tarot, this deck really does explore memory. There's a few extra cards, that's why there's a Fool, a Fool, a Fool. You can choose. I personally really love this deck. There is this blank card as well, which I use as a significator, but it's called Nowhere on Earth. Nowhere on Earth. And that's, again, you feel like you're part of the landscape here, and a lot of it, you know, because it's done in Vietnamese, and it's supposed to represent parts of Asia, but it could be anywhere and everywhere. It's beautiful for that. And the Nowhere on Earth gives me that sense of, doesn't matter where you go, you won't find exactly this landscape, because it doesn't exist anywhere on Earth. It's a portal. And whether, I mean, some are very sparse and it feels quite dreamlike, but each of these cards feel like a faded photograph, but a faded photograph of a parallel universe. There's something very liminal about each line, as if the deck exists between forgetting and remembering. Does that make sense? And I think that's what, you know, obviously the creators tried to convey here. But these decks, these images, I should say, are so transformative, and they show that transformation in a very fluid, very emotional, and a deeply reflective way. I also think that this deck encourages deep ancestral introspection as well. It's one that I have used to access something within me that, and when I say something within me, that reservoir of wisdom that we all have, but sometimes gets pushed down, buried with other stuff. But I've been able to access that wisdom that has felt buried or half remembered. So it's a great deck for that. I think the deck fuses traditional symbolism with sometimes quite abstract, otherworldly imagery, and it has this beautiful, unique aesthetic. And it really does invite you to explore unfamiliar territories, particularly unfamiliar territories of the psyche. I think it is one of the most beautiful decks in my collection. And I think that's because it really does captivate that half light, halfway between worlds, the seen and unseen, the forgotten and the remembered. Really beautiful. So that is Quen Tarot. And now for something really beautifully immersive. This is the deck that I worked with through the whole of last month, through March. Every single day I use this deck in some capacity. It is, of course, the Magical Nature Tarot. It's by the Sync Spirit Collective. And this deck merges the natural landscape with elemental energy. It creates portals hidden within the living world. I mean, this deck is such a nature-based deck. Everything about it. The card is eco-herbage. The inks are from plants. It has a beautiful smell. And it reminds me of the idea that nature itself is the doorway. And that in every single, I mean, little portals, look, that appear, every single stone, every tree, or whether it's the plants, clouds, there's another realm watching back. The cards are stunning, really stunning, and each card feels like it's gently guiding you into a deeper layer of reality. One that it's just beneath the surface of this one. Oh, beautiful. For me as well, this is a deck that, I mean, look at that, talking of portals, and it's a deck that breathes. I think this is a perfect deck for those who want to do pathwork, meditative pathwork, or connect with spirit guides. especially when out in nature. Yeah, it's like a boundary between you and the land. Oh, it just dissolves. So yeah, this one, Natural Nature Tarot, a deck for me that intertwines natural elements with mystical motifs, creating a bridge between the earthly and the ethereal, and the illustrations in particular suggest hidden realms within our natural world. And I think I said when I did a kind of at the end of the month, when I said about how my experience of working with this was that I was just so impressed and had so much admiration for its enchanting artwork and the sense of wonder that it inspires. Beautiful. And we've got to love a deck that has a duck, haven't we? So, Natural Landscapes, Magical Nature Tarot, with its natural, beautiful landscapes, is number 9. Okay, so next up we have the Thildrick Tarot. Had to include this, had to. It's by Neil Lovell, who's no longer with us, sadly. Have I got all the cards out? No, I haven't. Let me take out the ones that are titles. Put them there. There we go. This is a beautiful deck. I mean, look at that gilding for a start. The backs, I love the backs. So this deck, Thildrick Tarot, for me feels like you're slipping through a crack in time. You are stepping into a Victorian mansion, but it's a Victorian mansion that exists slightly outside of time. There are no people, just doors and stairways, unused kitchens, beautiful. I mean, this reminds me of like Tom's Midnight Garden. Again, these are portals into this time and place. Just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I think because the artwork is quite grainy, sometimes my first initial thought was, I can't really see a lot of these images. They need to be sharper. But that's why I'm including it in this, because this is called Peeping Through Dimensions. And because it's not a sharp vision, you've got that ethereal feeling to it. And like you're looking into a world and it's misty. It's you're waiting for the clarity to come as you peep into this other dimension. So for me, it's it takes you to a place where time loops, where you're not sure if you've been here before. You know, and I often go to places of interest in stately homes. So is it a place I've been to before, or is it a dream world? It's very atmospheric. I know people have multiple copies of this deck, but for me, when I use it, it's almost like reading of a life I've lived before. Not that I think I've ever lived in a stately home or a mansion, but you get what I mean. I mean, it's a renowned deck for its architectural elegance, but it's also got this haunting atmosphere. It feels like you've stepped into a forgotten place or a timeless dimension. We've even got the grounds here, look. Certainly stepped through a portal into this world. almost. I mean, look, a wheelchair there just sitting empty. Beautiful. So that one, number 10, is the Thildrick Tarot. Beautiful. Okay, moving on. And this one might seem like a very strange choice. It's the Dame Fortune's Real Tarot. And I'll tell you exactly why this one is in here. It comes as well, or you can buy separate, I should say. It doesn't come, you buy it separate. A book for this, Dame Fortune's Real Tarot by Paul Hewson. Brilliant book. I did a study, an in-depth study with this deck. And this one really feels like it's transporting me to another place. And we've talked a lot about decks that are quite abstract, or you know, collage, give you that otherworldly feel. And this one is very, I was going to say it's very Marseille, but it's not, because it is Pippish, and it's probably the only one in the collection that I'm sharing today that is, excuse me, Pippish, but it's also got scenes. But for me, it feels like you're being dropped into a parallel dimension where occult truths are spoken in the language of medieval mysticism. This is a realm where ritual and symbols give you key information. And it feels like you're stepping into an old medieval spell book, and it's been brought to life. The archetypes within the cards, I don't know, I get a sense like they've been waiting centuries to deliver their message. Such a beautiful deck. Again, it's not one that I see gets talked about a lot. There are some study videos on it on YouTube. The world here that you come into is rich, and it's alive, and it's full of hidden knowledge. It's very orderly. And I think this deck is great for when you need grounded insight from the beyond. And different to the others, you know, you're not necessarily looking for that sort of emotion, that emotional connection, but you're looking for truth. And it's not a dreamland either. It's not a dreamland. This deck feels very much awake. So I think it offers a unique blend of historical and also mystical elements. It feels both ancient and otherworldly. And I just think the symbols and imagery in this card can transport you to a different temporal dimension. It gives you really a distinctive and depth when you read with it as well. So number 11 was Dame Fortune's Tarot. Oh, let's get this. This one is by Los Carabeo. Like I say, the deck and book is by Paul Hewson. Okay, so I can't be talking about surreal landscapes and dreamlike worlds without mentioning Deviant Moon. Again, I've showed it already in the last week, so I won't spend an enormous amount of time on this. But this one really does feel like you've gone through a funhouse mirror. It really does drag you into a parallel world where shadows have shape, faces twist. There's this strangeness to it, this lunar world, this lunar strangeness. It's eerie, it's theatrical, but it's a dream world that knows that it's dreaming, but invites you in and dares you to follow. There are so many cards in this deck that are unforgettable, and they hold this sort of uncanny elegance to them, often referred to as masked figures. I wouldn't necessarily say they're masked, but it gives you that sense of being a masked figure, and they just dance on the edge of our subconsciousness, and they reveal more than they conceal, really. Sorry for the interruptions, guys. I could just hear the postman always around this time, and I was expecting a parcel, so I was waiting in for it, and I could hear him outside whistling, so I paused so they didn't get the knock at the door. So what was I saying? Yeah, I mean, Deviant Moon, it's powerful, particularly when you want the truth, that's unfiltered, and can be a little uncomfortable. People have often said this is an uncomfortable deck. It doesn't soothe, it confronts, but always with a cheeky wink. I think that's the best way to describe it. I mean, it's famed for its surreal, dreamlike aesthetic. It has these exaggerated figures and, like I said, shadowy lunar landscapes. But it's within a world that feels like it exists just beyond the veil of waking consciousness. It's a world that's tinged with both whimsy and unease. Often feeling quite bizarre, but they're symbolic dreams. And I've spoken many times before about how this deck both challenges and delights in equal measure, but it does have, or gives you, the ability to access deeper, often hidden truths, and it's designed to do that. If you feel uncomfortable with it, you sit with that feeling and you bring to the surface why. So this is great for introspection and shadow work as well. So yeah, Deviant Moon is number 12. Okay, last three. Can't do a video like this without mentioning the Mutant Tarot. This deck is probably the most bizarre deck that I've got in my collection. This really does feel like a glitch in the simulation. I was watching on YouTube last night about studies that were actually in a simulation, and there's evidence all around us as to why we're in this computer simulation. But if ever there was a glitch in the simulation, then this deck is that. It's a portal to a warped digital dreamscape where archetypes mutate and your reality just bends. It is chaotic, it's electric, it's strangely appealing, strangely alive. But it's like a tarot deck that's evolving in real time, rewriting itself as you work with it. This deck will you know, challenge your perception and pull you into this dimension where nothing is fixed and everything is possible. Again, a great deck for shadow work, or, you know, paradigm shifts. It's confronting. It doesn't ask for permission for anything. It mutates your perspective. Yeah, so why I think it fits into this category is, you know, it is unsettling. It's experimental visually. It dissolves boundaries between organic and synthetic, sacred and surreal. Beautiful Technicolor. It's a Technicolor dream. It's quite raw, and it's a deck that is absolutely unforgettable. So, Mutant Tarot was in number 13. So in 14, I've got the Forest of Enchantment. Had to include this. This is a brilliant deck. And the reason why I included it, it's by Linnea Weatherstone as well. I needed to mention that. If there was ever a deck that feels like you're crossing a threshold into another realm, then the Forest of Enchantment is that deck. It doesn't just depict a forest, it invites you in to that forest world. And right from the first card, you get a sense that you've stepped off the path and into something ancient. I mean, look how they're dressed. Something magical, and just this beautiful liminal space. You've got little sprites and elves and all the stuff you'd imagine you'd find within the world of a magical forest. There's something both comforting and why are they like that? Sorry. Something both comforting but also unnerving in some of the cards. It's soft, but I don't know, it demands your attention. It's not to be overlooked as a soft, cute deck. It's not just that. And you get a sense that when you're in this world, the forest is watching. I think this is the kind of deck that when you turn to it, you want to read from the heart and the imagination. And I want to step into this world where time kind of spirals, and I meet the creatures and the beings within the liminal spaces. Oh, beautiful deck, really beautiful deck. So, Forest of Enchantment Tarot at number 14. And the final deck is actually an oracle, but I couldn't leave it out. I just couldn't. We started with a Silicon Way deck and we're going to finish with a Silicon Way deck. and this is the Book of the Dead Oracle. This is beautiful. This is the most gorgeous, high quality set. It's just stunning. I'll put the book in upside down. These cards are incredible. Most luxurious of cards. Look at the gilding. The backs even have gildings on them. Again, you get these kind of portals on the back. So this one really feels like you're, look how in tune it is with the Shimmering Veil as well. The difference is this one makes you feel like you're walking the threshold. The Book of the Dead doesn't just take you into another dimension so much as guide you between them. It's quiet, reverent, but also otherworldly. And it's like drifting through veils of consciousness and memory, accompanied by ancestral echoes. And that's what, I mean, look at that for spirit. I have read the Tibetan Book of the Dead. That's not what this is, but you do get a sense of a journey into that world and then being guided and held. Beautiful. So, I mean, look at that. So the deck, I think the best way to say it for me is the deck doesn't just show transition. It provides a space in which transformation happens. You're not just observing the journey though, you are the journey when you're working with this deck. For me, I think this deck is especially powerful for grief work, for past life readings, or just times when you're communicating with the unseen. It doesn't necessarily tell you where you're going, but it does walk with you on the journey. It's almost like having a lantern in your hand. It's beautifully subtle, numinous imagery, and it just captures really well that space between life, death, and whatever comes next. It's a sacred crossing, and in this world you feel weightless. Your burdens are lifted. You don't need words. There's keywords here, but the images themselves really evoke deep resonating emotions. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful deck. Again, one that doesn't seem to get a lot of attention, and I really think it should, because I think it's one of the most beautiful oracle decks, and lots of people talk about Shimmering Veil. I think this one really goes well with that deck, because it's just of that same sort of that realm. It belongs with that realm. So that's all 15 decks. There are only some of my decks that have that otherworldly, other dimension vibe to them. I could have spent hours going through. I just picked out the ones that spoke to me the most in terms of that category. These are the ones really that I would say truly feel like they have some form of dimensional portals within them. And as you've seen, some take us into dreams, others into myth or memory, to other times and other lands, or the spaces in between all of them. So I'd love to hear from you. What decks do you turn to when you want to slip between worlds or peep through dimensions? And are there decks that make you, I don't know, feel like you're walking through dreams or reading with spirits even? So do drop your favourites in the comments below. Or if you want to share yours, then make a video too if you're a content creator. Or you can even jump into the Hermit's Cave Facebook group and share yours there. So I'm back tomorrow, if you're watching this on Friday, with Cheryl for Spotlight. And then I'll be doing some walkthroughs over the coming weeks of the decks that are featured there. But the fourth and final one of my week off, where I'm having these kind of extended videos sharing decks, will be on Monday. So yeah, until then, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.